February 3rd, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. It was very choppy because there was a lot of news coming out about tariffs that the US is imposing on Canada, Mexico, and China. And then President Trump came out and said some things, and it just kind of created a very choppy trading day. I did take one trade, which is right here. And it's actually it wasn't the best setup, but I took it because I liked what I was hearing I liked what I was hearing for the setup on the newswire, which I was listening to all day. And there's Trump came out, said some things. Some of his representatives came out and said some things. President of Mexico said some things. And it was just a very choppy day that made it very difficult to fully trust setups. Nevertheless, I did mark, I think, a total of 4 setups, and I took one of them. But one of them wasn't the best, but it was kind of like a hunch that I saw was unfolding. Now, I'll get to it when I get there. There's only one time economic data that came out that really moved the market, perhaps, which is around 7 o'clock Pacific Standard. It's about right here. It's the ISM PMI Manufacturing. As you can see, it kind of caused a small little drop down, chops around, and move back up. There was this very big drop from last Friday when the tariffs were announced, and the announcement made it such that it dropped like this on Sunday. As you can see, throughout the day, the market tried really hard to close this gap. So I'm going to get into the trades right now, or the setups. So in the pre-market, there's this really big drop. From down here, it's like, let's say it's about 60.60 or 60.58 if you want to be exact. Dropped all the way down to 59.89. So this is about a 70-point drop, a flash drop. So the market closed Friday, boom, opened up way down here. So this is pretty crazy. This is also a good reason why you don't want to hold things over the weekend or hold futures over the weekend. So in the pre-market, it was just very choppy. I saw some of this yesterday night, and I just knew it was going to be probably a pretty choppy day. I didn't know if it was going to be a range day though. So it's just, I drew these after the fact in the morning, just kind of see if there was any setups in here. But I don't think I would have taken anything here. It just felt very dicey. But as you do have a very interesting, I guess, obedient price action where prices are moving within channels, break of the high, comes back to the other side, break, test the high after a break. And it was just kind of in this big range. So on the open, let's just go ahead and on the open, it kind of flushes down. Again, with previous days, I do see a lot of second entries, but a lot of them fell short because the signal bar wasn't the right. It should be bullish when it was bearish. It should have been bearish when it was bullish, or is below or above the EMA, or it's just really choppy. On top of that, the ATR, the average true range day, was really large, so that meant you had to increase your risk by a lot just to ensure that you're one tick below the previous bar or whatever your natural stop would be. So that made it also more difficult for me to take a trade or to trust the setup because I don't want to take a really, really big risk trade, even if you're trying to go for more profit target. If you're wrong, it's going to really ding your account. So I just tended to stay away from those. So in the pre-market, it's this choppy price action opens and starts pushing up on this, what I think was this spike in this orange up channel. There's no clean second entries. Technically, as I said, throughout the day, throughout this chart, you're going to see like the first entry, second entry, there's a signal bar that's red. EMA is cutting through, not the best signal bar. It's hard to trust the second entry long because you already pushed through the EMA. So a lot of those I just kind of skipped. Price then continue moving, starts pressing up, and I'm just kind of sitting on my hands and watching. So I'm waiting. Hits the EMA, starts flushing down. This is just all kinds of news. News is coming out. People are making remarks about the trade tariffs, etc. At pretty much at this point, let's see, scroll over here. The ISM Manufacturing PMI comes out. I was watching this yellow down channel. There's a new low here. It's a first entry short. Technically, I have a second entry short here, but it's actually a visual first entry, second entry. Didn't quite touch the EMA. Don't really like the setup. Here it pushes through the trading range, and it's hard to want to take a long here or to continue short because this could be a failed breakout. It could be moving back into range, or it just could continue downwards. So it looks like it's a break of this green down channel. One attempt, push back, two attempt, could be starting a second of this measured move. I don't know that at the time, so I just kind of left it alone, waiting for a lower high, but it ends up showing up way over here, which is too far from the EMA. So I'm just going to go scroll quickly. This breaks out of this yellow down channel. There's a new low here. It's first entry short. If a second entry short is above the EMA, I don't really trust it. It is a break of this yellow down channel, but it just felt a little bit dicey. I was looking for a lower high. You get a lower high right here, but it's a really big candle. And it is a lower high, but you already broke the lows. So I didn't really trust this lower high because you say it's first entry short, second entry short, no lower high here to get here. It feels too disconnected from the setup. So it makes this measured leg down, just kind of chop sideways. EMA doesn't really help. I don't really see any clean second entries that I particularly like. You have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. It just doesn't feel quite safe. There's this break of this yellow down channel. So if you drew it like I did, you could say it has tested the low. Maybe the lows have been reached, and there could be a correction. So if you took this second entry long here, it just still feels risky because EMA is flattening. Clearly a bearish bias. So it's just too risky for me to want to take that trade. I couldn't make a channel fit very clean here because I did try to encapsulate this, but this didn't look right. And then if I put it right here, then it chopped off this initial move. So I left it just as a trend line and treated it as a potential resistance for any possible setup that might come about. But I was just leery of this. Prices move up, and it's right around this time that it was announced that trade tariffs that Mexico and the US had come out and decided to halt it for a month. But the big heads like Trump himself hadn't made a statement yet, and the president of Mexico hadn't made a statement yet. So this is this big rally, and I had to sit on my hands and watch. Fortunately, there was no real clean setup that I particularly liked. So then right here at 7:30, and this is going to go through my first trade and also my thinking process. So I'm listening to the newswire all day. And this is what I see. I see a break of this green up channel. Break, two legs down. EMA is starting to hold resistance. So it's pushing back up. Right here, right about 7:30 Pacific Standard, the president of Mexico is quoted as saying, yeah, they're going to halt tariffs between the US and Mexico. So tariffs have been officially halted, at least for a month, spoken by a reliable source, which is the president of Mexico. Later, Trump confirms it, or his team confirms it. So what I liked about this is I drew this up channel and I drew this channel, or I drew this trend line, I drew this up channel, and I like that it went first entry long pullback. It's about to create a second entry long. It's also a new low here, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Second entry short technically has failed on this candle, and it created a higher low. But when this news came out, right here, I was watching this flush down, hit this area, bounce, and so it opened, it was moving very rapidly. So I will say that this is a little bit of a risky trade, but I like that it made a double bottom here. And I like the setup, and I also like the momentum of the news because when this came out that Mexico and US had halted tariffs, it was just kind of rallying pretty hard because you can look at this as 721, this is 725. So this big move happened in a span about 4 to 5 minutes. It takes a break for about 5 minutes, then this starts picking up again. So that's actually where I took the trade. Now the setup, I admit, isn't the cleanest. It's first entry long pullback, second entry long. This is a bad signal bar for second entry long, but it is a confirmed second entry short failure, higher low. And I like the news momentum coming with it. And I like the way this candle was reacting. My stop was below this double bottom. So this candle here is a 6.25 candle. It is very risky, but I knew there was enough momentum to get a quick scalp. So I dropped in my order right here. Let me zoom in. And this is how incredibly fast it reacted. Now, I will admit it could have easily flushed the other way. So I entered one tick above, it pushes up, hits my 5 tick profit target before I had a chance to even move my stop to 1 tick. Well, actually, it's still here. I want to move it to 1 tick above this entry, which would have been here. And then this is my profit target, standard profit target for my runner. I wanted to drag this upwards after I got my stop in place. It flushes up, hits my profit target, immediately proceeds up and then hits my uh, runner target. So I didn't even have a chance to move my runner, but it was a pretty nice trade. My runner I usually keep about, as you can see here, about 4 points above my initial profit target. So it was a very quick flash trade, pushes back down, pops and oscillates. And as you can tell, this is still within about 2 minutes of trading. Hits this, bounces. Now, if I still kept my stop loss down here, I would have been safe. And it would have pushed up. And I don't know how I would have managed this if I was still in the trade, but I didn't even have to think about it because it just kind of hit the profit target, hit the runner target all in one go. I think if I was still managing a runner, because I'm pretty sure I would have gotten my profit target here, if I was still managing a runner somehow, I probably would have been watching this carefully. I think I likely would have gotten stopped out here because it would have been one tick above here. But if I was miraculously still slow and I was down here, I probably would have walked it up one tick below these guys and likely got stopped out on one of these guys. So it would have been maybe one more point. So in this case, it was better. Well, it was lucky that it was actually slow, or this candle was very fast because it gave me a 4-point profit target on the runner. So neither here nor there. It wasn't the best setup, I'll admit, but it was based upon what I was hearing on the news wire as well as the reaction I was watching. And as you can say, as I mentioned, this is at 7:20 and this is at 7:31. So this is a full 10 minutes of trading, for full 10 minutes of price action, and you can see how quickly it was just chopping around. I'm just watching. It pushes up. I didn't have this purple up channel drawn. I was having other channels drawn in the meantime and didn't really quite fit that well. So I was just playing short and trend channels. It pushes down. You have a second entry long here. Technically, you have a new high. First entry long here, second entry long, but it looks cleaner as a first entry, second entry failure, but there was no clean setup. You have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. It's above the EMA on a bullish day, so it's risky to go short. It kind of consolidates sideways, pushes down on this orange down channel, creates a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This second entry short, I thought it was a possible trade. It's a break of this orange down channel, makes one attempt, makes a second attempt. But I also saw that it made a measured leg up after the break. So it's one leg up, second leg up. So this is a pretty clean measured move right here. Two legs up. It broke the EMA, closed, whether it closed above or just at it, it's kind of, you can argue for both ways because it's just right there. But it flushed up and then flushed down. This is I think, better. It's a good trade, but I wanted a better signal bar. So I left it alone. I was hoping for a lower high somewhere here on this candle, but it never came back and it just flushed down. Once it made the measure move down to here, I was thinking, is there some kind of support being respected here? It looked like it. Keep in mind, this purple up channel doesn't exist yet, so I can't really use that as key entry point. I'm just thinking it might be bouncing off this blue support, but that's not good enough for a trade. Pushes up, first entry short. You have a second entry short here. Again, it's too far from the EMA. It's a decent signal bar, but I'm not trusting this just yet. Pushes up. Again, it's just getting choppy and noisy. Then it flushes down. A lot of price movement, but nothing that I felt safe on. First entry short, second entry short. Technically here, you can see a visual first entry, second entry. Still above the EMA. I'm not really liking what I see. It recovered too much of this drop down. So if I was shorting here or here, if you shorted here, you would have gotten the 1-point scalp, but this is dangerous to short on. Shorting on this feels also dangerous because it recovered more than half the move of this down channel now. So I'll be shorting counter trend to the big move up, potentially going to get a bounce and a stop out. But I did draw this purple trend channel going up at this point, but there's still no trade that I felt comfortable with. Pops around, flushes down here, hits this consolidation area. I was looking here during real time and after the fact to see if there was any possible setup that I potentially missed. Now, you could say there's like a new low, first entry short, count resets, another first entry short, count resets, first entry short. You could at this point figure that you're in a trading range, but I'm not feeling this is a, very well set up trade at this point, or setup. Kind of chops around, breaks out, pushes up on this orange up channel, flushes down. Looks like it's kind of a spike in a downward channel. No good key entry points. I'm not sure it is going on this yellow down channel, but it's weird that it's went spike and then more shallow. So I'm not really trusting a setup here yet. I need something with a key entry point, ideally with the participation with the EMA. It breaks down, hits this consolidation area, kind of reverses back up. Again, you have these really large candles. This one candle is like 7.25. It's really big. Flushes down. It's just getting choppy. People are talking. Trump takes press conferences, he's chalking, his guys are talking. It's just really noisy. So I'm just kind of sitting on my hands. It pushes up and it hits this and it creates a second entry long, but I consider it an almost trade. So up until this point, I'm thinking I'm in a trading range. It's a failed breakout here. Potentially it's a first entry long, but I also thought it might be a count reset because they're both going bearish. So I figured it's first entry long, pullback, second entry long. The reason I don't like this is is pushing to, you'd be buying into the top of a range. Signal bar is a doji. I had to do a count reset here. If this didn't create a technical first entry, second entry, and was just a clear first entry, second entry, that would have helped. But it threw a little bit of ambiguity right here. So technically, it's by the count a third entry. But I saw as a visual first, second. It's creating ambiguity on an EMA that's slowly turning up, but it's getting crushed by this top of the range. So this is a failed breakout, but second attempt, and is this next candle here going to hit a little bit and then flush down? I didn't really want to take that risk. It was making higher lows every time, but it's still, I could see an argument for both going long and short. So in that case, I just decided to sit on my hands. Starts pushing up. I find this yellow up channel. There's no clean second entries that I particularly like. You have a new high, first entry, second entry, again, a third entry, but it's below the EMA. It's worse than this setup. It's pushing up. It has a failed breakout here. It's a first entry pullback, second entry long here. I didn't mark it, but I saw it. I didn't like the fact that this is coming after the breakout of this yellow up channel. You could have dragged it up to here, but then it kind of left all these guys in the wind. And this is only really your first touch. So I actually liked it back down here, in which case I treated this as a failed breakout or an overshoot. So first entry, second entry, I'm cautious of going long after a breakout here. I'm expecting a move back to the lows of this side, maybe creating this corresponding overshoot here. So I did see a second entry long potential here, confirms here, but then I also have this orange down channel drawn. So now I'm potentially buying into this resistance and it's coming for an overshoot. So that just all kinds of indications telling me it could easily be a failed second entry long. Pushes, it does create a failed second entry long here, but I didn't expect to see something like this. But it chops around. You have a new high. I was debating, okay, so now I have a break, could actually be here. It still doesn't quite look as nice, so I kept it here. Decided to treat it as another overshoot and just wait for a better setup. You have a first entry long here, pull back second entry long. You saw it as a visual first entry, second entry with two legs down. You broke outside this yellow down channel, yellow up channel. You're expecting a test the high, but it doesn't really have a good setup. No clean signal bar. Creates a localized new high. It's a first entry, pull back second entry. You also have this low, first entry short, second entry short. I actually thought this was a possible trade based more on the strength of the second entry short because it made two clean legs up. Break of this orange down channel had one attempt, two attempts. It pushed up, closed below the EMA. It fit nicely this developing red down channel. Granted, I do have an overshoot here, so I was thinking there's a possibility an overshoot here, but I like the two measured legs. I like the EMA is giving trouble with the price action. This signal bar is only 9 ticks, so it feels a little bit safer than what has been printing previously. So that's a possible trade. It was definitely enough for a scalp, in my opinion. In this case, it would have worked. You would have gotten here. You do have a lower high here. Then it pushes down, kind of chops around and get kind of these congested signal bars. Also, this is late in the day, so I wasn't that excited to try to take a trade here, especially when I already got a nice profit on this. I wouldn't say a good setup, but it was more like a touchy-feely. I was reading what was happening in the market, reading what I think other people were thinking, and so this was more of a lucky trade. Too early for me to base it on, too early for me to attribute this trade off of good intuition, but it's more like I saw something, I took a risk, and it paid out. So the prices continue moving down as another overshoot here. You don't really get any favorable entries, especially when this is going into the last 10 minutes of the day. So I'm just extra cautious. It's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, it's a back signal bar to go short on, new high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long. This is a really small candle, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Plus, you only have about 3 more minutes of regular trading hours left. And you can already see what happened. A good case in point of what happens. Now, this is over the weekend, but nothing to say that if Trump had announced trade tariffs, let's say today, that this couldn't react like this today. So definitely, I don't want to be stuck on anything overnight during these more volatile times. It kind of pushes into the close. As you can see in the close now, it's kind of reversing. So this is still trading hours. I mean, this is still trading day, but in after hours. But I don't really know what's going on here because I stopped listening to the newswire. It's kind of how I saw the charts today. Wasn't too many setups. A lot of movement though. Not a lot of setups that I felt comfortable with. And the one setup I did take, I will admit, was a little more iffy. And this is just based upon, I guess, my read of what was happening and what I interpreted what was going to happen. Not really the cleanest setup. It is a valid setup though. Second entry long, higher low of a failed second entry short. So hopefully that was helpful.